This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Masked Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
Hi, welcome to The Clash, where we take a issue that we are going to talk about and we allow an issue from our culture to clash into our Christianity, our faith. And that clash becomes the flashpoint where we talk about stuff that matters and stuff that helps us develop a Christian worldview that helps us navigate the world better. Now, in a previous episode, we talked about God and sports. We still had a lot to talk about. So this is an episode that's kind of a sequel, but really not, because this episode is called Sports and God. And see, it's different. You see how we did that? We kind of flipped it up. I'm Jeff Dixon, I'm your host, and I'm sitting next to the Saint. And we found out in a previous episode, he used to be a referee as well. Oh, yeah. I'm sure I probably yelled at him at some point in his refereeing career. But Chris, welcome back to the party. We're going to do some more sports chat.
Yeah, Jeff, before we take a break, you think God cares who wins?
I think he does, but, and maybe we can tease this before the break, but I don't think he cares in the way we think he cares. How about that?
Oh, I like that.
A little bit of mystery now.
Wow, you're gonna kind of get into that when we come back from the break?
Oh, sure, we can. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hi. Just wanted to ask you a question. This is an important question. Have you been to the Clash store yet? You don't even know that it is a Clash store? Where have you been? Follow the links that you see right now and visit the Clash store. You can get all sorts of Clash gear. You can get coffee mugs. You can get tumblers. You can get those fancy cups that keep things hot and keep things cold. We have all of that, but not just that. We have gear. We have hoodies. We have shirts. We have sports shirts. We have t-shirts. We have anything and everything that you need to let folks know that you are involved in the Clash. You're taking your Christian worldview and you're allowing it to clash into the culture around you. And so, sports show, support this ministry, take time to visit the Clash store today.
Hey, welcome back to The Clash. We're talking about sports and God. Before the break, I said, does God care who wins? And you kind of intrigued me on that one. You're gonna kind of go somewhere with that?
Yeah, I mean, you said, does God care who wins? And I said, yeah, well, God cares, but not the way we think he does. And here's what I mean. I think that I think God cares about sports, and I think he cares about the outcome of sports, but not because of what's on the scoreboard. Because if you think about it, sports are an opportunity for God's creation to use their gifts and their talents and to enjoy competition and play. And I think God cares about that a lot. I think, I get really intrigued with athletes and like post-event, interviews. Because anymore, it's not uncommon to hear an athlete, I want to thank Jesus, all good things come from him, and I thanks for giving me the ability to play, blah, 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 blah. And so I like that part. As long as they don't get to the part, and it's Jesus who wanted us to win tonight. Because I don't think Jesus really pays a lot of attention to the scoreboard. I think the scoreboard he's looking at is, as you as a Christian, you as a Christian athlete, how did you conduct yourself? Did you conduct yourself in a way that honors him and uses the giftedness and the talent and the artistry that he gave you? And I think it matters. And so I think that God does care. I just don't think that he's as upset about the wins and losses.
More about our character than the scoreboard.
Always. Yeah. But I think it's important to God because it's important to us that we get the opportunity to play. And so I think that's good.
Well, you hit on something that I agree with. I actually think, Jeff, that sports are a gift from God. And I'll tell you why. Competition, teamwork, discipline, excellence, that all reflects God's creativity.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I agree.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. And I think sports really, as a Christian leader, I think that I probably learned as much from my experience in sports over the years than I did anywhere else. And so, I mean, I really do believe that has. I think it's a great learning lab for leadership skills and things that you'll use later on in life for years and years and years and years. I mean, so I think athletics in some ways kind of defines part of athletes' lives if they've had a level of success at it, and I think that's important. And so, and I think God cares about that too, because I think He uses it to help you and I and whoever, develop the skills that they need to lead effectively and successfully.
Very good.
Yeah.
What else you got on your little clipboard?
I think one of the struggles that we have, and we kind of talked about that a little bit maybe in the previous episode when we talked about this, and I think this is the struggle point, maybe the big struggle point for most Christians when it comes to sports, is the fact that because sports are so popular, because sports are so big, it is very easy for followers of Jesus Christ to allow sport to become their God. And the love of sport to become too important, and it breaks down, and the love of a team, to become more important. Which, when that happens, and that lends itself to some of those bad moments that we see, on YouTube, that you see a reel on, that you hear that makes the news because it goes horribly, horribly wrong, where it goes beyond, screaming, hollering, rooting for your team, yelling at referees, and cheering, and the game's over, you go home, and and go get a Big Mac and forget it. Next game's coming around the corner. When you obsess about it, I have an aunt that one time, UK basketball fan. Oh my goodness! She loved UK basketball. Obviously, she's from Kentucky, and this was back in the days before all the games were televised. I can remember being at her house, and we would listen to the UK games on the radio. Man, and she would scream and she would holler at the radio. Kaywood Ledford was the play-by-play guy. She would scream at Kaywood to tell us what was happening when he wasn't saying it fast enough. And if they won, it was just like great, because basketball you play twice a week. But if they lost, she would that night pace the floor, reliving the game, worrying about it, smoking cigarettes. Worried about it, and then she also would over the next few days just analyze to the point where there's nothing she could do to help them. I'm sure. I love my aunt, but the woman never made a jump shot in her life. And at the end of the day, so there was nothing she could do. I don't know if she ever went to a UK game in person, but she was obsessive about it. And in some ways, then the Wildcats became God. And you got to be, and so I think, you got to be careful. But there was a line from a movie that Jimmy Fallon was in, where he was a big Red Sox fan. I think Drew Barrymore was in the movie with him. She
I remember that
asked me a question. She said, "Have the Red Sox ever loved you back?" And it's that no. It's kind of like that moment where you get kind of stuck where, as passionate as we are about our teams, if we let it get out of control, those teams don't love us back. They're just a team.
And that movie was made before the Babe Ruth curse was lifted, and the Red Sox won a World Series too.
It was, back in the day. I think that came out. That was the movie. That was a comedy. It was years ago though. Now, wasn't it?
Yeah, a real long time ago.
But I think that really is the struggle point, where for Christians anyway, that if we can't keep sport under the Lordship of Christ, then all of a sudden we start worshiping the sport, the need to see the sport, and we begin making sports a bigger priority than God. I know people who will spend more on sporting events than they will contribute to the church, or they fail to tithe because they're spending so much money on their sports teams. They can't do this, but they can buy a jersey. And at that point, you just got to ask yourself, okay, I think there's just something out of whack. And then again, it's not judgmental. It's just a statement of fact. It's just, this is the way it is.
Right.
And for some people, I think it becomes too big.
Yeah. Well, how should Christians lose, Jeff? Anyone can praise God after a victory, but what does faith look like after a heartbreaking defeat?
Yeah. I don't know. I think you throw a ball through the wall. You push the referee. You scream at the opposing team. Am I getting close yet? I think I think you. You mutter under your breath a lot. You spit on the floor. No?
Like your aunt?
Yeah, maybe.
Smoke cigarettes?
Yeah, but let's go smoke a cigarette. But I think Christians should lose with dignity because I think, again, I would love to say I had a handle on this when I played. I did not. Mm-hmm. It's only been, after I retired from sport and knowing myself well enough to know that you have to be able to end the game and walk away from the game. Mm-hmm. The game is over. We have played. It's a match, right? We've wrestled. You win, you put me over. One or two things are going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's over, right? I mean, it's just over. We walk away. We're going to have to go. We talk. We're going to do life, and you do life together, and you just move on. And again, that's part of the problem we were talking about earlier. I think if it becomes larger than life, and some games really are important. There's no doubt about it. And anymore, there's multi-million dollars tied into it, so it does. There's a lot of value to it. But you got to remember, it really is just a game. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you got to play is the big deal because the arena that you get to play or the length of time you get to play any sport is so small in comparison to life itself. Mm-hmm. And I think that if we're not careful, that just goes way, way out of whack. Case in point, the day we're filming this, this will actually date the day of the recording. But today, I read that LeBron James signed a new contract. He's going to play for the Philadelphia 76ers. He will get $3.6 million next year. Mm. But I balanced that out against a young man that's playing for the University of Kentucky next year, who's getting $6 million to play college basketball. And so, when you start putting money on the line, it really does allow things to get out of whack. And so what I just told you is there's a kid who's playing, who's not in the NBA at the University of Kentucky, that's going to make more than LeBron James is next year. Now, does LeBron have more money? Of course he does over the course of his career. But what he's doing next year, he's getting paid that much to play a game. There's something really out of balance with that, I think. Mm-hmm. And so it is easy to forget that it's just a game and make it more than a game. But I think wisdom would say for any follower, I mean, you just don't forget it's a game. And it's okay to finish the game and walk away from the game and know that hopefully I get another game to play. And if you do, be thankful for that and enjoy it and do your best and then do it all over again.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not a huge basketball fan like you are, but I have noticed something that made me smile, and I've thought, well, that's great. On some football games, after the game's over, you see players from both teams gathered around on a knee praying. Yeah. And I thought, man, I like that. I think that's pretty cool. It
is. I mean, I think Christian influence in sports really is a lot stronger than a lot of people realize. And I think that there is, and that's a good trend. And I think that's a trend that is continuing to be on the upswing. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't realize, and you don't recognize it if you're not involved in a sport. But that prayer circle at the end of a game, it really is a powerful moment. Now I don't usually do that kind of stuff in basketball, but that really is important. I think the other thing that's kind of unknown or unappreciated is too that most of professional football teams, basketball teams, college athletic teams, they all have chaplains now. Mm-hmm. I mean, the coaching staffs have realized that, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual really are all a part of this athlete that they're working with. Mm-hmm. And so the need for chaplaincy has grown and has picked up over the years too. And maybe that's a good place to pick up. We need to take a break. Yeah. So let's take a break. Okay. And we'll come back and we'll kind of pick up there, and then we'll kind of wrap up this whole sport conversation.
All right. Let's do it.
Don't go anywhere.
Is this awesome or not?
I'm kind of excited about it because
Jesus Tapes, our show on August the 17th at 7:30 is going to be an hour long, and we are going to have the director and a couple of the producers from that movie. and we're doing the world premiere of the trailer.
So we're going to see the trailer that night as part of our show.
Right.
First people in the entire world to see it.
Absolutely.
Right here.
Right here.
With you and I on The Clash.
You don't want to miss this.
Hi. Thanks for not leaving during the break because, well, I'm obviously trying to get you to buy something. I really am. If you're anything like me, middle of summer, sometimes it gets really hot. We film here in Florida. It's hot all the time. And every once in a while, you'd like to take a little bit of a break. Get a little Christmas spirit going in your life. If so, I have a suggestion for you. I have written a novella based upon the characters that show up in my novels. It's called Then Christmas Happens. It's available in the exclusive paperback edition, the collectible hardback edition, or if you're lazy like I am and you want someone to read to you, you can also get this book on Audible in about an hour and 10, 15 minutes. Hear it, read it, and get a little Christmas magic happening in your life. To get it, you have to go to Amazon, look up My Name's Jeff Dixon, and then let Christmas happen in your life. Welcome back. We're talking about sports and God. And before the break, we were talking about the rise of chaplaincy in the sports world, which I think is a great trend. Mm-hmm. We happen to have, as one of our viewers, actually, Ken Smith, who is one of my mentors, has preached here at the church at 434 for me before. But Ken, for nearly 10 years, was Bobby Bowden's chaplain at Florida State, through the Florida State legacy years. He's been chaplain for South Carolina, University of South Carolina.
Wow.
I think he's also in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes Hall of Fame, and has probably spoken to most of the college and sports franchises here. Probably, if you take Texas and you just kind of cut across all the way up into the Carolinas, and I mean, I think he's probably spoke at all of those schools. Again, a spiritual influence of just being a part of their life and pouring into these athletes, and to hear some of the stories that Ken has told. I'm just really struck by the fact that spiritual influence is so important for these young men and women who are developing the skills and stuff. And so I think that really is another part of this whole Christianity and being a part of athletics. I think that really does help.
Yeah.
And I think because what the Bible teaches us, wherever two or more are gathered, he'll be in their midst. So imagine now you got 2 or 3 Christian athletes that are now part of a team. Well, all of a sudden God becomes a part of that football team or that basketball team, that baseball squad. I think that really is a good connection point for people to flesh out their faith in that athletic environments.
Right.
I think it's healthy.
Yeah, when I was in professional wrestling, this was when I was in seminary in 1985, I didn't know another Christian professional wrestler.
Yeah.
I didn't know another one. I go to the match. I go in the locker room. I'd find a corner, and put my gear on. And the other guys are talking about going some places that I would not go after the matches, and I won't mention those places, but it was just so lonely.
Yeah.
Being in professional wrestling with no Christian professional wrestler. It's different today.
It is.
You got Ted DiBiase, you got Steve Kern. Steve is a rabbit, man. You ought to look at the stuff he puts on Facebook. B. Brian Blair, Nikita Koloff. Nikita, my goodness, he's got a tremendous Christian ministry going. So that's a good thing for me today that, hey, we got Christian professional wrestlers, which we didn't have in my day.
Yeah.
I'm glad of that.
Well, I mean, I think the other thing is too. I mean, when you're thinking about teamwork, you're thinking about being a part of a team. Mm-hmm. Certainly, the analogies of what we are in the church, in that teamwork environment too. Those are lessons that can really be taught through the sports environment. So, I mean, again, that's the healthy part of sports. I mean, I think that's part even for age group sports as you grow up. I mean, if you want your kid to be in sports, to learn to be a part of a team and be a team player and to develop skills and things like that. I mean, maybe the biggest skills that you develop is how to interact,
right,
and fill a role, and understand in the bigger picture that you do that over the course of your lifetime. And I think that's all healthy and all good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I had this one down. Sports really reveals character. Because pressure doesn't, it doesn't create character, it reveals it. And have you seen that in sports?
I think we see it a lot in sports. I mean, I think we see, and again, I mean, it's understandable, right? You get tired, adrenaline's pumping, emotions get high, there's a game on the line. In a game that maybe is competitive, and even if you add the physicality to it, where you're taking some bumps, taking some hits, taking some bruises, it is easy to reveal who you really are. Hopefully what gets revealed is you're someone who is strong, who's willing to push back, who stands your ground and compete at a high level. Sadly, a lot of times, you can blow it. You can blow your cool and lose your cool, and when you do, it tends to go south. And then, as my dad used to say, you just show the silly side of you, right? I mean, and when I was younger, I mean, to be honest with you, I showed the silly side of me a lot in sporting events, which is bad.
That's shocking.
Yeah, it's shocking. And then, wish you could have those moments back, which also, though, you understand that if you understand your competitive nature, though, you can channel that as you get older and kind of use that for the glory of God, too, which you got to use those moments to grow, because you're going to blow it.
Right.
And that's okay to blow it.
Yeah.
It's just okay. You just can't stay there, though.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to walk away and walk away with no hard feelings, and walk away and be able to kind of step back up and step back in again, especially when you have teammates that are counting on you.
Yeah.
That matters so much.
Yeah. One thing we haven't talked about is the influence of coaches. A coach can really shape a young person's character for life. Yeah. Did you have coaches that helped shape your character?
No doubt. I mean, I think a Christian coach is the most valuable asset, resource on any team. If your coach is a Christian and comes from that standpoint, and that may be even better than their ability to do the X's and O's. Now they have to be able to do the X's and O's, because a lot of Christians, you don't need to be coaches, but to be a Christian and be able to bring that to play is good. I was fortunate to have some great coaches that were mentors, molder of men, helped shape my life, and were some great examples. And I also had some that I ran for that were horrible examples, that there was the other end of the spectrum, that were just train wrecks. And while they had the skill set to be a coach and understand the sport, when it came to teaching character and moral fiber, they didn't have it.
Yeah.
And that was tough. It was tougher. As a Christian athlete, it was tougher for me to run for them.
Well, I'm going to redeem myself here, because in our first episode on God in sports, this one is sports and God, but on our God in sports, I kind of, messed up, and I named a couple of Florida, quarterbacks and all. But I got to tell you, the greatest Christian example that I have ever seen in sports is Coach Bobby Bowden.
Bobby Bowden, sure. Now you got back to Florida State, coach. You're back in Seminole territory now, right?
And I heard so many stories. I watched his funeral, and the first 5 players talked about his godly influence in their life, and how they became a Christian because of Bobby Bowden. Yeah. You think of the coach, Mark Rich. Mark Rich listened to him one night, and the first thing he did that morning was he went to the coach's office and said, I want to know about this Jesus. And he led Mark Rich to Christ. Yeah. I was at my first church, and I heard him give his testimony over in Lakeland, Florida. And I hand wrote a letter to Coach Bobby Bowden. And I said, I heard you give your testimony. I would love to have you come and speak at our church. I don't even know if that's a possibility, but would you come speak at our church? And I sent it to him. And on the envelope, I still remember this, all I put was Florida State University, care of Coach Bobby Bowden. That's all I put on the letter, Jeff. And I put Tallahassee, Florida, of course, and I sent it. The next week, I get this letter from Florida State with the Florida State emblem on it, and it was from Coach Bowden.
Wow.
He said, Chris, thank you so much for inviting me. I'd love to come to your church. Can you give me some dates? There'd be no charge for me coming. He said, I do ride state aircraft, and you'll have to pay for that aircraft, but that's the only charge. And I couldn't believe it, man. You know, a couple months later, we had Bobby Bowden speaking in our church. And he spoke in every church I pastored, every church. First Baptist Beverly Hills, I had him there. First Baptist Longwood, I had him there. And got to go pick him up at the airport, bring him back, and hear all those great stories. But the greatest thing was to see him in my pulpit, sharing the gospel with people.
And he was great. I mean, I heard him a number of times. That was fantastic.
Yeah, he was. Well, I digress. You go ahead.
No, and I met Coach Bowden at Florida State as well. He was trying to recruit me to play football.
Really?
I was there on a track scholarship, and I was running on the track one day, and Bobby Bowden shows up on the track to see, you know, this new crop of freshman track athletes that are there and watching us run the 40. And I kept thinking, it's really odd that we're running the 40. I mean, why would we run the 40? Because the track, you never run the 40. Right. The 40 is a worthless kind of endeavor in track. I mean, that's just not the distance.
It was for Coach.
Yeah. And so all of a sudden, it dawned on me, that's Coach Bowden up in the stands. And man, he's up there watching he's got a stopwatch. He's got somebody with him that's got a clipboard, and they're watching you real close. And so 2 days later, I get a call, and I get a call to go over to Coach Bowden's office. And so I go over there, and you know, Jeff, I watched you running the other day. You're fast young man from Orlando, Florida. You know, and he's looking at some piece of paperwork, I guess had something about me on there. And he goes, you ever play football at Edgewater High School? No, Coach, I didn't play football at Edgewater High School. And so kind of just went back and forth. And basically he said, you know, you're already here. Why don't you go ahead and let's think about playing football next year. Let's get you out there in spring practice after track, you know, and we get you out there and kind of go through the motions and just see what we can do. And he goes, we'll put a little weight on you and, you know, and work with us and, you know, just see if you could, you know, make the jump and play some football with us. I'd love to see if you could catch football, be a wide receiver, you know. And so we talked about that. And it was for him, it was a serious conversation. For me, you know, I walked out the door thinking, you know, I'm doing everything I can to run as fast as I can. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, if I put on 30, 40 pounds, all of a sudden I'm not as fast as I was anymore. Mm-hmm. And so my track career would be over. While very flattering, and there was no scholarship on the table because I was already there on a scholarship. But they actually did piggyback a few scholarships to get some guys to go over, and a couple of my friends ended up going over, and they didn't play because they're track athletes. What do they know about playing football? But they were on the team because again they were fast, they were strong, and they were athletic, and that was just Coach Bowden. I think if there's a regret, it would have been to say, it'd been nice to just play for Coach Bowden, to say you did, just because of who he was, as you mentioned. That was a big deal.
Oh, he was hilarious.
Yeah.
I loved him. And I did notice your friend that spoke here last month, he told a joke that Bobby Bowden always told. So I'm sure he got that from Coach.
Yeah, and you know, and the thing, when Ken comes to speak, he always will bring with him, or usually is wearing the national championship ring, which is pretty cool to see. I've actually had it on my finger. It's a lot of fun.
Pretty cool.
Well, listen, we have talked a lot about sport. We talked about sport and God. I think the verse that I'm struck with is out of Colossians. Whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord, not for men. I mean, I think if you're an athlete, you have to bring your best to it. Yeah. I think that if you're an athlete, the way you compete really is an act of worship, or should be, could be. And I think for a Christian athlete, that really is essential. And really is a part of just this whole idea of bringing sport under the Lordship of Christ. Right. But we're out of time, so we need to go. We need to cut this topic off and let these folks go on with their life. And so let's be good sports about that.
Okay. I got one thing to say.
What's that?
Don't tap out.